Today, what we're going to talk about is a 3-day strength program that you need to use to gain massive muscle. In addition to this, you'll be growing in strength as well. You'll be building out your whole physique by really targeting major muscle groups. It's 3 days of training within a week, and you'll be working major muscle groups because since you only get to go 3 days a week, we got to really focus on the big key compound movements to help you accelerate not just building size, but strength as well. So in this video, we're gonna be talking about certain muscle groups, the routine, what does it look like, the reps you're gonna use, would it be suitable for a gym, maybe a home gym? Spoiler alert, you can use both. We'll talk about intensity, barbells versus dumbbells, when you wanna fit it in there, cardio, rest days, and then the goals of this program, especially by the very end of the video, so you'll understand if this is the right program for you. So with a 3-day split, because we are powerliftingtechnique.com, it's probably safe to say that we're gonna really focus on the squat for one day, the bench the next day, and the deadlift for the final day. The reason why I like using the squat, bench, and deadlift is because it hits all the major muscle groups of the body so that you get a balanced anatomy in size and in strength. So how would this thing work? The schedule, first of all, would be more times than not laid out as a Monday, Wednesday, and a Friday. Monday could be your squat day, Wednesday could be your bench day, and then Friday could be your deadlift day. Now, I would never want someone to squat and deadlift back to back, day after day. It just wouldn't make sense. So make sure that the day you go to the gym, the next day you should probably rest, and then go to the gym, and then rest. That's how your intervals should look. And then the weekends you just have off just to recover. So Monday would be your squat day, Wednesday is bench, and then Friday is your deadlift day. It would be best if you use 6 exercises a day, and make sure that you start with your compounds, and then go into your isolation exercises. And the reason why you want to do that is because compounds hit a ton of muscle groups at first, so that whenever you do progress through the workout and you go into your isolation movements, those muscles will already be exhausted. So that fatigue is what's going to help develop thicker muscle fibers in order to get stronger down the road. So I would definitely promote compounds and then isolation exercises. Now let's dig a little bit deeper too. On squat and bench day, you're going to want to start off squatting or benching. And I would recommend 2 working sets. So you want to really get to the heavy sets pretty quick. You don't want to do multiple sets. And I would say between 5-6 reps. I wouldn't say anything below that because then you're starting to get more into a peaking program. And that's not the point of this program, is to build muscle and build size. But on deadlift day, I would actually make it to where you squat first on deadlift day, but you squat for speed. Now, I'm going to get to that in a minute. It's just a lot of details on how to make that work. But on squat and bench day, you're going to start off squatting, you're going to start benching. And then after that, you're going to pick an accessory movement, a secondary squat or secondary press that really exposes your weak point. So, for example, on squat, I'm really bad with my hips. I always lean forward when I squat. So I might work on box squats as my secondary movement. Or if you're someone who worries about their postural strength, like you come off your squat and you're bent over and your spine's flexed, maybe you want to do a dead squat. Bench press, same thing. Maybe you're weaker at your lockout and you want to do board press, or maybe you're slow off the chest, you want to do dead press. Just pick some secondary exercise that works your weak point on your bench or squat to be your second movement. And then the third movement should be a speed set of your top set. So for example, let's say on squat day, you squat 2 sets of 5, you work up to 400, and then you do some pin squats, so off the pins to work on your postural strength. And then the third thing needs to be squats for speed. And if you have bands, I would use the not thick bands, but like the medium bands, and 70% of your top set. So if you did 400 for 5, you would do sets of 3, and you would do 70% of that set of 400, so that'd be 280. But if you don't have bands, I would say use 80%, so that'd be 320. The reason why is because the bands make it harder at the top, and chains can do that too. But if you don't have those things, you can just use 80% of your top set. So far, whether it's squat or bench, you're going to squat or bench first, and then do your a secondary squat or bench that exposes your weak point, and then you'll do speed sets after that. So it's a lot of squatting and a lot of benching, but after that, we're done with that. So now the rest of the workout, the last three things should be accessories / perhaps isolation movements, where it's single joint exercises to help work those minor muscle groups in order to really focus on them and develop them as well. And the reps on those could be 10, 12, 15, maybe even 20 reps. And another thing too is if you have access to a gym, I would say at the end of the program, maybe use more machines so you can focus on effort and less on technique so you get a break in that sense as well. I would start off with mostly barbell things like you heard, and then for the accessories, machines or even dumbbells as well to work on that unilateral strength and having to balance out your effort. And then once you're done with your 6 exercises, I would go into cardio, and I would use between 65 to 80% of your max heart rate. And that's very simple to do. 220 minus your age. So if you're 30, 220 minus 30 is 190. And then from there, you'd use 65 to 80% of that. Now, the 80% is a little high, so you probably want to go more to the 0.65, because with that lower range of the heart rate is going to work more fat tissue and more fat as your source of energy, so that you're not really expending too much of the carbohydrates that could be depleted from your muscle, from your weightlifting part of the workout. You probably want to focus more on the 65%, because if you go to 80%, you're working more on carbohydrates as your source of fuel. But if they're depleted from all the exercise you've been doing, you might be going into other efforts, into energy sources that it might not be conducive to your goals of building size and building strength. Long story short, the range is 65 to 80%, but it's probably better to go to 65% because it's a lower range and it still is stimulating enough, but it works your fat versus carbohydrate stores. But that's what squat and bench are going to look like. Now for deadlift, you could use the same concepts, but on deadlift day, I like to squat first. The reason why is I use a very light percentage, 60% of your top set from day one. And what that'll do is that'll help your hips fire more, so that when you deadlift, whether it's a sumo stance or a conventional stance, you're recruiting your hips quicker so that you're in a more advantageous position to be successful. So I would squat at 60%, 3 sets of 3, then work your heavy sets of deadlift, speed deadlifts. So then I would go 80% or 70% if you have bands. And then from there, 3 accessories that can really work on those pulling muscles, such as your back, your rear delts, etc. I would even throw biceps in there as well. Maybe instead of cable pull downs, you do underhand pull downs, because that recruits more of the bicep, and that can give you a balanced anatomy too. But that's what it looks like in a nutshell, y'all. When it comes to a 3-day split, you want to work on compounds into isolation. You want to focus on the squat, the bench, or the deadlift the first half of the workout, and then the second half of the workout, you want to focus on accessories that might be single joint, isolation movements with higher reps, 10 to 20 reps, just to really get those muscles fatigued, to make them grow and get stronger and more capable of pushing more weight down the road. If your goal is to get bigger and to get stronger, this is the program for you. And in fact, if you want to actually see this program in action, click below in the video description, and it'll actually get you a link of what the workout should look like and some of the details we talked about in this video. So if you like the stuff, if you heard something that maybe sounded a little controversial, you want to learn more about, leave a comment below. Hopefully you'll like the channel, subscribe, and we really appreciate y'all's effort, and hopefully we'll catch you next time.